Okay, Baruchim Abayim. Baruchim Abayim. Everyone here in Yerushalayim Or Kodesh and watching around the world. I just have information that the Rav will be here in approximately 10 minutes, Be'ezrat Hashem. So we always try to make some announcements and fill the time with a little of the Rav's Torah. So I'm going to make this announcement now, and I'll make it again later. For those here in Yerushalayim, Gali Nai is trying to make a big push to get everyone's contact information. So if you're not getting notices from Gali Nai, WhatsApp, emails, whatever, so Achia, the one selling the books in the back, he has forms, just very simple, your email, your phone number, name, credit card number, and that way we could be more efficient about getting information out to everyone. I'll make other announcements later. But to give over some of the Rav's Torah, this is Rosh Chodesh. So first of all, Chodesh Tov, everyone. And also tonight here in Yerushalayim, it's a 2-day Rosh Chodesh. So the Rav has an amazing Torah. It's a relatively simple Torah, but most likely if the Rav wouldn't have said it, we wouldn't have thought about it. So he says in Rectifying the State of Israel, right in the beginning, he mentions that in our day, there are two highly significant events that happened in our history. One is now commemorated as Yom HaAtzmaut, Hey Iyar, and the other one is Chav Chet Iyar, Yom Yerushalayim. So he mentioned that it's not a coincidence that both of these events, there was 19 years between them, between the War of Independence and the reunification of Yerushalayim, but they both happened in the month of Iyar. So he made a relatively simple connection, but it's so fundamental. And he said that in the month of Iyar, in between these two dates, there is Pesach Sheni, the second Pesach, which is in the Torah for those who, for various reasons, could not make it to Yerushalayim for the first Pesach. They had what's called another chance, the second Pesach. And what's significant is that this mitzvah was revealed because a number of first Pesach, they wanted to keep the mitzvah so badly that they couldn't believe that God wouldn't open the gates for them so they'd be able to bring the Korban Pesach. And that's when God reveals this idea of Pesach Sheni. So Rabbi Ginsburgh, just like 1 and 1 equals 2, he said that the significance of the events of almost 71 years ago, and it'll be, 51 years, is that right? No, 52 years of the reunification of Yerushalayim. He's saying very simply, God is giving us another chance. He said that's the significance of both of these days coming out in Iyar. So here we are in Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and Bezrat Hashem, it's clear that God is giving us another chance. The question is how successful we'll be in taking advantage of this second chance. Bezrat Hashem, the events of the last 100 years will just continue. The ingathering of the exiles, the rebuilding of the cities of Eretz Yisrael, the desert turning green, all of the prophecies, all the simanim that the prophets gave us for the final redemption and Bezrat Hashem, we'll see it. So that's the first Torah from Rav Ginsburgh about ER. The other Torah to give over is that for those of you who have the series called Mivchar Shiurei Hitbonenut, the choice lessons of meditation. It's a series that has, I believe, 25 volumes to it now. And in 2 of the volumes, Rav Ginsburgh gives over teachings about all the months of the year based on the Magen David. When you take a Magen David, you have 6 smaller triangles around a middle hexagon. But also, they're really double, because if you folded them, you would get 12 triangles, and they all meet at a middle point. And Rav Ginsburgh has arranged the 12 months of the year plus Adar Sheni, the second Adar, in this form of a Magen David. And it's connected, these 13 months are connected to the 13 inner dimensions of the Sfirot. And so the month of Iyar is connected to Bina, and the inner dimension of Bina is Simcha. So the Rav begins with a question, because this is definitely the Torah he's giving over, that this month has to do with Simcha. But the obvious question is, usually we don't think of this month as a month of Simcha. We say, Misha Nichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. When the month of Adar comes in, we increase our joy. And on top of it, the Rav points out, we have customs of mourning, semi-mourning, during the beginning of the Omer. So what's the connection with Simcha? So he explains from the Sefer Yetzirah that the sense, the chush of this month is hirhur, which is one of the words for thought, machshava. Now it fits in perfectly, because even though Sfirat HaOmer actually stretches out over 3 months, Nisan, Iyar, and Sivan, the only month that the whole month is Sfirat HaOmer is Iyar. And the whole thing of Iyar is Tikkun HaMidot. But the Tikkun HaMidot happen through Machshava. And he explains that this is a classic case of the Chabad teaching, Alter Rebbe, Hamoach Shalit Al Alev. The mind rules over the heart, or the mind should rule over the heart. But here in Sfirat HaOmer, it's all the lower 7 Sfirot, which are the Midot. But he explains from the Arizal that how do we take advantage of Sfirat HaOmer? How do we take advantage of fixing our Midot, the qualities of and the characteristics of the heart? By drawing down mochin, by drawing down the moach into the lev. And so the chush of this month is hirhur, is machshava. So this fits perfectly with Sfirat HaOmer. And then he points out, so what's the connection with Simcha? So again, hirhur is another word for machshava. If you take the letters machshava and you permute them, it spells out be-simcha. Be-simcha. So that this period, what we're trying to do really is to draw simcha, mochin, moach, consciousness into the midot. That's the avoda of Sfirat HaOmer. And the connection is that the inner dimension of Bina, which is connected with this month, is Simcha. But then the Rav becomes very, very specific between simcha and machshava, and that is hitbonenut. In other words, the joy of bina. What kind of joy is bina? So, of course, we have the expression, Aim habanim smecha. The mother of children is joyous. Who's the mother here? Bina. Who are the children? The lower 7 sfirot. That's the children. But the special simcha of bina is hitbonenut, which comes, of course, from the word bina. Hitbonenut. So all of this is connected to the avoda of Sfirat Omer. And so even though we don't usually think of this month as a month of joy, the Rav is teaching us on a very, very fine, refined level. This month is very, very connected to Simcha. The Simcha of the Machshava. And that this Machshava, again, has to be drawn down into the Midot. And every day we are trying to fix one of the Midot, but we do it by drawing down B'simcha, this kind of meditation. Because we don't just fix our Midot without putting a lot of thought into it. It takes a lot of cheshbon and nefesh, a lot of hitbodedut, to take advantage every day of the combination of the sfirot in order to make the proper tikkunim. One other connection is the tribe, according to the Arizal, that is connected to this month is the tribe of Yisachar. And of Yisachar, it's actually perfect because unless someone knows something that I don't know, I think the Rav is continuing with his series on time. And the tribe of Yisachar, they were known for their ability to calculate the Jewish calendar, which is a very, very actually complex thing to do, especially back then when they didn't have all the kinds of instruments that we have now to be able to be very precise, but they were very precise. And this is specifically the tribe of Yisachar. Yodei Bina Le'itim. About them in Divrei Yamim, it says that they knew the understanding of the times. So maybe even the Rav will speak about that as he walks in. I was just making the connection of Yisachar, Yodei, Bina, Leitim, and Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Okay. Before we start, I was waiting for more people to come because I want to say again, anyone who is not getting Galei Nai announcements, WhatsApp, emails, please see Achia in the back. He has very simple forms, and that way everyone can be informed of all the different events that are happening, changes in the schedule, etc. And before we start tonight, I'm sure the Rav will concur that especially people outside of Israel, I'm sure everyone is following the news, and we want to send our tanchumim to the families who have experienced losses in the last few days. And many people need refuah shleimas, and no, we're talking. No, also that we're talking about what's happening right now in Eretz Yisrael. So if anyone's not plugged into the news, it would be good to be, because this is not a simple time here in Eretz Yisrael. So everyone is encouraged to increase their prayers, their learning, their tzedakah, whatever they can do to send strength to the people here in Eretz Yisrael.
Shalom to everyone here and around the world. Let's begin with what Rabbi Krugman just said about wishing and praying for a refuah shlema for whoever needs a refuah shlema. This month is associated with healing. Let's first begin with saying Chodesh Tov. We should have a good, gebenched, blessed month of Iyar. The word Iyar comes from light, and the word light, or it has another name, Ziv, which also means light, radiance. It means it's full of light this month. But the allusion to this month in the Torah is from the verse, Ani Hashem Rofecha, I am Hashem that heals you. The initial letters spell Iyar, the name of this month. So from this it's taught that this month is a month of healing. So in the schus of Rosh Chodesh Iyar, we should all be healed to be able to receive the Melech HaMashiach, all gesund, with 100% good health, and to be able to hear the words of the Torah, Chadashah, the new Torah that the Mashiach will reveal to us. But the verse reads, it's at the end of the whole story of the splitting of the Red Sea and the Song of the Sea, Shirat Hayam. It says that just after we experienced the epitome, the climax of all of the miracles of the Exodus, the first place we reached was a place which is called Marah, a place of bitterness, because the water was bitter. We couldn't drink the water. So the Jewish people, in good tradition of Jews, cried out to Moshe Rabbeinu that there's no water to drink. So Moshe Rabbeinu, by the word of Hashem, he took a piece of wood. It says he took it from a bitter tree. It means he healed bitterness with bitterness. It's called Refuat Domeh B'Domeh. And he cast the piece of wood into the water, and it became sweet. And this is actually the one and only time in the whole 5 books of Moses that the word sweet appears. Just in this context. There's no other verse of sweetness. And then, after this, also a miracle of the bitter waters becoming sweet, the next verse reads that Hashem says that if you'll listen to my voice and keep my commandments and statutes, then kol hamachala asher samtim Mitzrayim, all of the disease that I placed in Egypt, referring to all of the plagues, lo asim alecha, I will not place upon you, ki ani Hashem rofecha, for I am Hashem, your healer. So actually it's very appropriate at the time, because we just read Shvisha Pesach, the end of Pesach, we read about the splitting of the Red Sea, and how we sang the song of thanksgiving to Hashem. And then what comes afterwards is now the Rosh Chodesh Iyar, so we're living with the times. The Rosh Chodesh Iyar is a time that the bitter waters are made sweet in a manner which resembles homeopathy, in healing a disease with the disease itself, which says that's the way that Hashem heals. And then the next verse reads that if we'll listen to Hashem, which alludes also to the voice of Hayom Bekolot Im Bekolot Ishmael, that when Mashiach come, and that day that we will listen to his voice and keep the commandments, then all of the disease that I have placed on Egypt, I will not place on you. And Rashi explains that even if there is some appearance of a little disease in the Jewish people, so it is as though it is not. Because from the very beginning, from the outset, I am healing you. The disease itself is part of the healing process. And the last few times we've been discussing time, the mystery of time, secrets of time. Last month we weren't here, we were in a different place, there weren't too many people there, but I hope that many of us did hear the class. The class last time was about the 28 times the change, the 14 pairs of 14 good times and 14 bad times, and how it appears to be a cycle that they're recorded in the book of Ecclesiastes, Kohelet, Sefer Kohelet. We made a statement that if you read the book of Kohelet, which was written by, Kohelet is another name for King Solomon, you get the feeling as though it's very pessimistic, the book. He wrote other books. He wrote the Song of Songs, which appears to be the most optimistic and beautiful and loving, full of love. There's actually a machloket, a controversy of the sages, which book he wrote in his youth and which book he wrote in his old age. Are you into the Song of Songs as a youth? That seems to make sense. And then into pessimism when you grow old. Or maybe it's the very opposite. That all this pessimism he expressed and got out of himself when he was young. Then when he got older, then he was into love. Shira Shiri Masha Rishlam. Two different opposite opinions. Meaning that in the psychology of, our psychology of man, both opinions are definitely a possibility. So today we'll continue to discuss different things that derive from the book of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes. The Song of Songs was the scroll that we read on Pesach. On Shavuos we read Rus, and on Sukkot, which is Man Simchatenu for some mysterious reason, the high point of all of the joy of the festivals, we read this book that appears to be very pessimistic, Ecclesiastes. It begins by saying, Hevel Havalim, Amar Kohelet, Havel Havalim Akol Havel. Vanity of vanities, says Kohelet. Vanity of vanities, all is vain. All is vanity. So we made a statement that reading the book of Kohelet, you get the impression that King Solomon here was considered the wisest of all men. Chacham mikol adam. He has an obsession with the vanity, because the word of vanity, which equals 37, actually repeats itself 38 times in the whole scroll of Kohelet. It's vanity and one more. And he has another obsession with time. Since the topic was about time, so that's what brought us to Kohelet, that he is very obsessed by time, especially that there are good times and bad times. At the end, since times change and turn over from good to bad and from bad to good, so there's another expression that all is vain. All of reality, the whole world is just one big vanity. course, not to forget the concluding verse of Kohelet that says that after we've heard all, Sof Davar Kol Nishma, everything being said and everything being heard, fear God and do His commandments, because that is the whole of man. There's nothing more than that. Because anything else is vain. It's all vanity. So we said that there's a relationship between vanity and time. The time itself is an expression of vanity. In the first class that we had here on time, we talked about 3 wonders of creation. The 3 Pil-A wonders of creation are actually time itself, the very existence of time, which is something that we can't fathom 100% what time is. And then life is the second, and then wisdom or consciousness is the third. We made a gematria that those 3 wonders of creation equal the name Rachel Imenu. Apparently it all has to do with a feminine figure and a feminine consciousness. All of the wonders of creation. The male, if he's okay and succeeds, he experiences the wonders. But the wonders themselves are the female aspect or dimension of reality. Rachel Imenu. The very expression, Hazman U'Hevel Avolim, the time itself is the vanity of vanities, also equals Rachel, the name Rachel. A consciousness that time is vanity. Just before we talked about healing and disease, time is the source of disease, bad time, and good time is the source of healing. There's a well-known expression in English that people say, time heals. If a person has a wound, a psychological wound. So time heals. But time, which is age, aging is also the source of ailment, of illness, of disease. If all of the cells in my body would remain youthful, young, nothing would age, I would live forever. As we talked about, we began talking the time as entropy. So on one hand, time and aging is the source of disease, of illness. When Hashem created the world, the very first moment of creation is 100% health. That's why it says that Breshit bara, in the beginning Hashem created, the very word created means health, means bari, good health. Because everything is, at that initial moment of creation, everything is young. Nothing is aged. As soon as things begin to age, so the cells of the body begin to deteriorate. Entropy takes hold. On the one hand, there's something about time. The time itself is the source of illness. But on the other hand, we have this phrase that psychologically, time also has a power to heal. It's a remedy time. It must mean that there are 2 different aspects of time, maybe 2 different realities of time. There's a time which is entropy, and there's time which is anti-entropy. From time, we said, comes life. And even the scientists will tell us that life is anti-entropy. There's something about time that can give birth to life, to renew, rejuvenate, Titchadesh kanesh nu'oraychi, that your youth will be rejuvenated. That's healing. So if this is a month of healing, it's a month of rejuvenation. It's also a power of time. It's the pnimiyut, the inner dimension of time. Sometimes there's a question which you asked, a very important question about time that we didn't discuss yet. Is time a line or is it a circle? Is it a cycle? Very often time is considered to be a cycle. It's cyclic. Masha hayahu she'yeh, that which was will be. Ve'en kol chadash tachat hashemesh. Nothing is new under the sun. It's all just a repeat. On the other hand, it appears to be that time is linear. Time just continues, it goes on, and even in history there is some step-by-step progress of humanity, or nowadays technology, that comes with time. Time is always progress. So if time is progress, it's linear. But if it's just a repeat scene, a replay, then it's a circle. Meaning that there's something about time which has to do with the secret of pi. Pi is the ratio between the diameter of a circle and the circumference of a circle, between a cyclic phenomenon or a linear phenomenon. If time is a line, it equals 97. Every line is in a circle. And every circle has a line inside of it. Time has both of these aspects to it. If time is 97 and it's a line, so what is the measure of the circle around the circumference that encompasses time, which is also time? It's a makif of time. It's called a circumference of something is a light, a surrounding light, a halo over something. So if you just calculate 97 times pi, you'll find that it equals the closest whole number is 305. If time, which is 97, itself is the circle, circular time, cyclic time, so what is the diameter? Is to divide time by pi, and then the approximate value, the whole number which is closest to the value of the diameter within the circle of time, is 31. Once more, a line can either be, as we said before, it can be a process of progress. It's a good line. Or a line can be degeneration, can be aging, as we said before. On the one hand, with aging should come more and more wisdom, which is the third of the wonders of creation. But at the same time, the body appears to deteriorate little by little. The health, the gesund. So we have to try to contemplate which is the entropy of time, which is the time that gives rise to illness, and which is the time that heals illness. So apparently in each one of the two, there's an inter-inclusion of the other. The line itself can either be getting better, then time heals. If you're getting better, you're always getting better. So in Ruchnius, there's definitely we're always trying, we always should be from good to better, from good to better. Even if we're good, every day, every new day is to become better and better and better, both Ruchnius and spiritually and also physically. But if it's bad time, so time is simple aging, which is deterioration, which is entropy. Cycle also. If the circle simply repeats itself altogether, so there's no tachlis, there's no advantage or purpose in that at all. That's why in the East, in Eastern philosophy, that time is considered simply a circle, so there's no purpose to creation. But with us, even if it's a circle which cycles up and up and up, meaning that there's a power of a line within the circle. But definitely each one of the two is inter-included in the other. So actually, once more, there's a line in the circle, and there's a circle which is around the line. Meaning that if you have a circle, you have a line in the circle. If you have a line, you have a circle around it. So actually there are 4 different times. Shnayim Shem Arba. The word time, Zman, equals 97, as we said before. 4 times are 388. And this number, whoever heard the class last month, this was a very, we expressed it as a very astounding gematria, that the whole section in Kohelet and Ecclesiastes, which discusses and enumerates the 28 times, the whole section has in it 67 words, which is Lizman, or the Heb, is the average value of time and vanity. That's the number of words. But if you calculate the whole gematria of the whole paragraph, the whole section in Kohelet, which is 8 verses, then it's a multiple of 67, means that each one of the words has an average value to it, and that average value is 4 times time, 388. And that value, 388, since time has 3 letters to it, so it's called the front and the back side of time. Time is Zayin, Mem, Nun, 3 letters. So if I write, the back side is actually the appearance of the word. If I want something to appear, this also has to do with disease and healing. Even in the Gemara and the Talmud, there were different, the sages had different whispers, naqashim, to say, to extricate and take out disease, spiritual disease and physical disease. And the way they did it is taking a certain word and reducing the letters one by one. If the word is any word will take shulchan, table. If I want this table to disappear, so what do I do? What is the way in Kabbalah to make the table disappear? I contemplate, unless you have to have power in your mind. I contemplate Shin Lamed Chet Nun, which is shulchan. Then I take away the first letter, Shin. And what remains is a lachan. Lachan is a melody. So the initial table is already not there, but there's some melody which remains. Then I take away the next first letter from the beginning. What remains is chen, grace. And then I take away the chet, remains nun, which count 50 days, Sfirat Omer, we'll talk about it. And then the inertia of that process continues, and the last letter also disappears. That's the way to make something disappear. But the opposite way is to make something appear. If I want I want to bring into reality something. So I do it in the opposite way. To generate, there's a process of generation and a process of degeneration. To generate something, which means to make something appear in reality, in Kabbalah, you take the first letter of the word, say the word good, tov. Hashem saw the light of this month to be good. So I want good to appear. So how do I do that? I want to generate goodness. I begin with the first letter Tet, and then I add a letter, Tet Vav, and then I add another letter until I complete the word. Tov has 3 letters, so after 3 steps, Tet Vav, Bet, I have generated the word Tov, meaning that I brought Tov into reality. So in Kabbalah, the generation process, which makes something appear, something new to appear, is called the backside of the word. And to make it disappear is called the front side of the word. And if it's the same word, both processes equal the word times 1 more than the number of letters that the word possesses. So if the word that we're contemplating, meditating upon is the word Zman, time, to make time appear and also to make time disappear, that will equal 4 times time. This time has 3 letters to it. So to make it appear, it's Zayin Mem Nun. To make it appear, it's first Zayin, then Zayin Mem, and then Zayin Mem Nun, all 3 letters. To make it disappear, it's Zayin Mem Nun, Nun, and altogether it equals 4 times 1. We said that was the average value, that 388 is the average value of the whole section in Kohelet. This is the 67 words, 67 times this number. And it all begins, the Kol Zman, the beginning of the section reads, everything has its time to it. Then it begins as a time to give birth and a time to die, and it ends with there's a time of war and a time of peace. There are 14 pairs of times. So what's now remarkable for what we just said is that number, which generating time and degenerating time, time appearing, time disappearing, 388, equals exactly the 3 words of this month. Ani Hashem Rofecha. I am Hashem that heals you. That's a very, very clear allusion that the healing process has to do with the rectification of time and our consciousness of time. Again, the whole wonders of creation begin with just the reality of time itself, which gives rise to life, which is anti-entropy, and then wisdom of consciousness, rectified consciousness. So now let's go back to what we said, that Kohelet, King Solomon, has his 2 obsessions, and they're related to one another. The first one that he expresses and continues to repeat over and over again throughout the scroll of Kohelet is vanity. The second one, when he reaches the beginning of chapter 3, that's where the 28 times appear. And then there's the many more appearances of time and once more, his obsession with time, we're calling it. Does King Solomon have a third? It's always good to have 3 things. So if you have 2 obsessions, you must have a third obsession also. Who can tell me, just off the bat, without what is King Solomon's? If I read the story of King Solomon in the book of Kings, not in Kohelet, so it's very clear what his obsession is. He has an obsession with what? with women. The Torah says that a king shall not have more than, cannot, forbidden to marry more than 18 women. But he said that I know better than the Torah. The Torah says that if you're married too obsessed with women, then they will take your heart away from the Torah and away from Hashem, away from God. So he said, no, I'm strong enough, my mind is strong enough, my wisdom, my conscience is strong enough to overcome that statement, or what the Torah foretells, that the wisdom will take my heart away from God. So he married 1,000 women, and Kabbalah explains that by marrying 1,000 women, that all of them were virtually from other peoples, from other nations of the earth. His intention was to elevate all of the sparks. When he married a princess of a nation, that's like the spark of that particular nation. So he wanted to elevate all the sparks. That was his justification. But he was wrong. And at the end it says, Nashav hitu et levavo, that his wives turned his heart away from God and from the Torah. So never think, even if you're as wise as Solomon, never think that you're wiser than what it says in the Torah. But he had this tremendous obsession with women. Does that express itself also in the book of Kohelet? Yes. Now what we're actually going to say here is that all these three obsessions are virtually just three different dimensions, three different perspectives on one basic problem and obsession with reality. In the end of chapter 7 in Ecclesiastes and Kohelet, there are two verses that have to do with the women. Then in chapter 9, 2 chapters later, there's another verse. I mean, his relation and his thoughts. What's more, it's the whole book of Kohelet is his thoughts, his take on reality. And his take on women is expressed in three different verses. Explicitly. Implicitly, it's all over the book. But explicitly, there are three verses that he talks about women. The first two, which once more at the end of chapter 7, are really bad from his experience with his 1,000 wives. He's summing up, which appears to be like that opinion that we said before, that he wrote Kohelet at the end of his life. Because of the summary of all of his experience with women. But then, remarkably, the third verse about women in chapter 9 is a very positive verse. Seems to be a very positive verse. So what are they? The first verse reads, "Umotzeani mar mimavet et ha'isha," that I find, after all of my experience with women, I find that a woman is more bitter than death. That's where it begins from. "Umotzeani et ha'isha, mar mimavet et ha'isha," that she's all trapped. She traps the male. It's a whole verse, but that's the beginning phrase. Umotzeani mar mimavet et ha'isha. Then the continuation is, Adam echad me'elef matzati, v'isha b'chol ha'el lo matzati. That I have found amongst 1,000 men one good guy. But women, even 1,000, there's not even one. Those are two verses which, one after the other, they're bad. But then we turn to chapter 9 in Kohelet, and then we find a very beautiful verse, Re'ei chayim misha asher ahavta. There are many verses in Kohelet that says since we're here in a world of vanity anyway, so make the best of it. Get the best out of this world. So one of those verses read, but it still appears to be that it's really a good thing. It's not just making the best out of vanity. The verse reads, Re'ei chayim misha asher ahavta. See life with a woman that you love. There are beautiful allusions about this verse, this phrase. One of the things that Chazal say is whoever is without a good wife, a good woman, is without a life. Because it says, see life with the woman that you love. It means that there has to be a woman that you love, and that she herself is the source of your life. One of the meanings of life is livelihood, parnoso, which also another phrase of Chazal say that parnoso is in the schus, the livelihood is in the merit of the woman. So it's, once more, it appears to be a very good verse. Two bad women and one good woman. Let's contemplate about these three verses. The first verse says, I find the woman to be more bitter than death. The verb is I find in the present tense. Chazal made a big point of the fact that this verse reads that I find in the present tense, because there's another verse in the book of Proverbs which is also written by King Solomon, but in a different atmosphere, a different spirit altogether. But also it's all about women. It's just that women there, the woman is also a parable for wisdom. And a good woman is good wisdom, is the wisdom of the Torah. And a bad woman in the Proverbs is minut, is wisdom of heresy. Much more wisdom that takes one away from God. That's the bad woman, called minut. And in Kohelet itself is the same. That's the way the commentaries explain. So sometimes a woman is life, sometimes she's wisdom, and the origin is just time itself. It's exactly the three wonders of creation that we began with that altogether equal Rachel, which is the archetypal feminine figure in the Torah. Of all of the four mothers, the mother, Behei HaYediah, the archetypal mother is Rachel Imenu. So once more, the sages note that this first bad verse, which is after a bad woman, is Motzei Ani, begins, I find the woman to be more bitter than death. So once more, the commentaries say that woman also can refer to minut, to heresy, as a parable. But it's also taken to be literal. The corresponding verse in Proverbs is just the very opposite. It reads, Matzah isha matzah tov, that he who has found a woman has found goodness. V'yafek ratzon me'Hashem, and he extracts, he manifests goodwill from God. If you want to reveal and manifest goodwill from God, you have to have Matzah isha matzah tov. Found a woman has found good. So how can those two opposite verses be reconciled? So actually, it says in the Gemara that in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel, under the chuppah, when a groom married a bride, So people would ask the groom, matzah or motzei? Have you found a woman or are you finding a woman? Because the verse that reads, found a woman is found good, is in the past tense. So it means that if the finding, a woman is compared to be a lost rib. How lost in Aveda? It has to be a Shabbat Aveda. You have to find her. It's a lost side. The word rib means a side. So have you found her in the past? Or are you now finding her? So if it's found in the past, that's the good verse and the good woman. Matzah isha matzah tov. But if it's finding in the present, that's the bad woman, the woman that is more bitter than death. How do we explain this? Meaning, what people were asking the groom, the first thing is that it's explained that it's up to you. You have the free will to make this marriage and to make your wife and your relationship with your wife good or the opposite. And it all depends if you have found her or are you now finding her. Now, there's another phenomenon about this verse in Ecclesiastes, which is the bad verse that says, I find the woman more bitter than death. That the verse reads, Motzei ani et ha'isha amar mimavet. Motzei ani mar mimavet et ha'isha. That I find, the word reads, Motzei I. The word I appears immediately after the word find, which is interpreted to mean that actually if I'm finding, now in the present, I'm looking for my own satisfaction and gratification, my own pleasure. I'm trying to find myself. I'm not really finding her. The explanation is that if it says matzah isha, there's no I there in that verse. It just says found. He has found a woman. He has found good. Matzah isha, matzah tov. Which means that he has found the woman in her soul source, in her ultimate past, which is the source of the soul. And the source of the soul, the two of us, if we're a b'sheret, a match, then the two of us were essentially one. We're one soul. We're two sides of the same soul. And that means that he has found her, and if he has found her, then he has found good. That's a good match and a good woman. But if he is finding I, so it's both finding in the present, and it's also I, myself, then that I, even before the word woman is mentioned in the phrase, it says, Umotzei ani, if I find I, mar mimavet. That is more bitter than death. Then it says, et ha'isha, with the woman. This is the way that we interpret this statement, which is actually giving the choice to the groom what type of marriage you want. But for now, what we're trying to explain right now is that the three verses in Ecclesiastes that refer to the woman, so the first one is in the present tense. What about the second one, which is also bad? The second one, which is the continuation, is that Adam echad mi'erev matzati, that one man out of 1,000 I have found. V'isha b'chol eileh, and a woman in all of these, obviously referring to his 1,000 wives. That if I would have had 1,000 friends, male friends, so at least one of them would have been okay. But with my 1,000 wives, even one of them was not good. V'isha b'chol eileh lo matzati. In all of these, I didn't find even one. So that verse is already explicitly in the past tense. That I have found Adam echad me'elef matzat. I have found one man in 1,000. But a woman, even in all of this lo matzat, I have not found in the past. So the second woman here is from the past, but she's still not good. She doesn't even exist. I haven't found. There's not even 1 in 1,000. But the verb is in the past. And what about the third verse, which is the good verse? It says, Re'ei chayim misha asher see. What does it mean, see? See is an imperative. An imperative means in the future. See ahead. See ahead. See life with the woman that you love. So this is a very beautiful and clear phenomenon that the 3 women, anything which is 3 is called a chazoko. It's a hold. The hold of Kohelet on the scene of women in his life. So the first is in the present, and that's not good. It's marmi mavet, bitter than death. The second is in the past, and the past it simply says I haven't found yet one good woman. And then the third is in the future. And the future sits in the past is to see life with the woman that you love. So we see that there's something about women which has to do with the 3 parts of time. And the order is present, past, future. Where do we see that order in our previous classes? We said that that's the order of the word tselem, the secret of the image of God in which man was created, which is also the order that we say every day, Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Yimloch L'olam V'ed. Hashem is king in the present, Hashem was king in the past, Hashem will be king forever and ever in the future. We said that the 3 inner dimension levels of the soul, which is called Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, is the tzaddik, the letter tzaddik of the image of the tzedem. That refers to the consciousness of the present. Or to the shita, to the philosophical view and opinion that time is solely the present, that only the present exists. The past does not exist. The future definitely does not exist. That's the tzaddik of the tzedem. Only present. Then we said that the second opinion, philosophical opinion, is that the past exists, and the past is always growing. It's called the growing past. Every new moment is adding another level, another layer, another floor to time, which is the growing past. That's reality, that's real. But then the third opinion, which is based upon the relativity upon Einstein, is that the future exists. All 3 parts of time exist simultaneously. So that's the mem of the... Let's go back to contemplate the word tzedem, the image, one of the most important words in Kabbalah, the image in which man was created. There's 3 levels. So that the first letter corresponds to the inner consciousness of the soul. Then there are 2 encompassing lights. That the first one from below is called the Chayat, the living one. And the higher one is called the single one, the Yechida. And to experience the reality of the past, we explain to be the living one, and to experience the reality of the future is real, is the very highest one. That's called the Yechidah Shel Hanefesh. These are the 3 levels of the soul: the tzaddik and the lamed and the mem. There's one illusion that I don't think that we said, is that the 2 final letters, which are the 2 makifim, the encompassing lights, are lamed, the lamed of the tzedem, and the mem of the tzedem. And the lamed, the letter lamed in the sages, is always short for lev, for heart. Lev begins with a Lamed, and there are many, many sayings of the sages that Lamed refers to the heart. In the same way that Lamed refers to the heart, Lev, the Mem, the letter Mem, refers to the Moach, to the brain. So, what's more, two simple words, each word has two letters to it. Heart is Lamed Bet, begins with a Lamed, and Moach, a brain, is Mem Chet, begins with a Mem. And it's explained very often that those are the two letters of the Tzelem, the Lamed, the heart, and the Mem is the Moach. In general, it says in the Zohar, and this is one of the basic principles in the Tanya, that Moach shalit al halev, that the brain has to rule over the heart. Simply meaning that reason and knowing what is good has to determine and control the different passions of the heart. But there are deeper and deeper levels that the pnimiut, the deepest point of consciousness of the brain, has to rule over the life force of the heart. We said before, there's time, there's life, and there's consciousness. So life itself is the heart. It's the cycle of life, the cycle of the blood comes from the heart. But mind, brain is conscious, that's above. If that's the case, that the Lamed of the Tzelem is the heart, and the Mem of the Tzelem is the brain, so what is the Tzaddik? So the Tzaddik is Sod Olam, is the Brit, is the covenant. It's called the foundation of the body. It's in the body there's a heart, there's a brain, and there's the foundation. These are the three basic contact points, spiritual contact points with reality, or with the creator of reality, with God. We don't like to talk about other philosophies, but it immediately suggests, and since so many people are into it, so it immediately suggests the concept, the Eastern concept of chakras in the body. But they speak of 7. Another place at length, and this we'll not go into now in detail, the Torah and Kabbalah, there are actually 15 different points down the middle line of the body that are contact points in reality. 15 points, 15 chakras in Kabbalah down the middle line of the body. But the 3 most essential are the brain and the heart and the Brit, the covenant. And those are actually the 3 letters of the word Tzelem. Foundation in the attributes, the emotional attributes, reflects the 3rd mental power of Da'at. The heart reflects the 2nd Binah. And the brain is Chokhmah. Patach Eliyahu, part of the Zohar that we read every week before Shabbat, it says Binah Liba, that the heart is understanding, and Chokhmah Mocha, that wisdom is the brain. So if wisdom is the brain and the heart is understanding, so the tzaddik is da'at, is knowing, is the essence of contact, of dveikut, of clinging. Let's now return for a second to make another beautiful observation that we didn't see about these 3 obsessions of Kohelet. Time, vanity, and women. How much does it equal together, those 3 words? Time is 97, vanity is 37, together it's 134, women is 400. is the whole number, 20 squared. The average value is 100th of the 4 letters, 10 squared. It's 134 and 400, it's 534. 534 equals that expression from the Zohar that we just quoted, Moach Shalit al Adev, the mind rules over the heart. But what happens if we add one more to that number? It's called adding the Kolel, the all-inclusive light that connects the words or connects the letters together. Then it equals 535. What is 535? 535 is Kohelet. Meaning that Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, which is the name of King Solomon, Kohelet equals these 3 words with the Kolel, equals vanity and time and women. Those were his 3 obsessions. Now we'll see another 2 very beautiful allusions, but it's based on a drop of mathematics, or mathematical analysis. The beginning of it all is Havel Avalim Amar Kohelet, Havel Avalim Kol Havel. Vanity of vanity, says Kohelet, vanity of vanity is always vanity. That verse, the whole verse, equals Breshit Bara, the two first words of the Torah. In the beginning God created. Obviously he had in mind, Kohelet, that everything, all of creation is vanity. The Breshit Bara is Havel Havalim Amar Kohelet, Havel Havalim Kol Havel. Let's take this word Hevel. And then the other word is Lakol Zman. Everything has a time to it. A good time and a bad time. Hevel equals 37, Zman equals 97. The word Zman, the 3 letters of Zman, numerically, the 3 letters are increasing. Because the Zayin equals 7, the Mem equals 40, and the Nun equals 50. So it's from 7 to 40 to 50. So the question is, what if I take that to be a series, what will be the next number in the series? The number that follows the 3 letters of Zman. How do I calculate? It's called taking finite differences. How much is it between 7 and 40? What's more, time is 7, 40, 50. Between 7 and 40, the difference is 33. Between 40 and 50, the difference is 10. So what is the base? This is called the base of the series. Between 33 and 10 is minus 23. So at the base, I have minus 23. If I want to calculate now what will be the next number in the series of the word time, then I have to take that minus 23 and add it to the second difference, which was 10. So if I have 10 minus 23, what do I get? I get minus 13. And that minus 13, I have to add to 50. And then I'll get the next number after 50. So what is 50 minus 13? 37. So very remarkably, the series of the word time, Zayin Mem Nun, the next number is Hevel, is 37, which is Hevel. This is one remarkable phenomenon about time and vanity. Another thing that will teach us more about time is let's take this word time and write it in full, each letter in full, which means to spell out the name of each letter. The letter Zayin, the first letter of time is Zayin, Zayin Yud Nun, which equals 67. And 67 is actually, as we already mentioned, it's the average value of time and vanity. That's the filling of the first letter. And the filling of the second letter, mem, is 80, because it's mem, 40 and 40 is 80. And the filling of the next letter is nun, which is written nun vav nun equals 106. Altogether, time, when written in full, equals 253. There's 67 and 80 and 106. The most important figure in the Torah, whose name equals time, 97, is a feminine figure. That her name is Mehitavel, the wife of Hadar. And it says that her father's name is Matred, Mehitavel bat Matred. And she equals 97, and her father equals 253. She equals time, and her father equals time written in full. If we're talking about women and how all of the wonders of creation that we discussed, beginning with time, it all has to do with women. So who are the three basic, if I want to say the three most important women in the Torah? So I said that Rachel, we already said that Rachel, I mean Rachel, she is all inclusive of all of the mothers. So I'm not looking now for one of the other mothers. And actually she's all inclusive of all Jewish women. Mama Rachel is the all inclusive Jewish mother and Jewish woman. Who is the universal mother of humanity? Chava, Eve. So we have a universal mother, that's the way she's called in the Torah, Em Kol Chai, the mother of all life. That's her name, Chava, Eve. And then we have the all-inclusive Jewish woman, Jewish mother, Rachel. When you have two extremes, there has to be a mamutza, there has to be an intermediate in between, which actually connects them, connects the two together. Who's the intermediate between Chava and Rachel, between Eve and Rachel? Intermediate also must mean that it's some type of a transition from universality to Jewishness. It's in between the universal mother and the archetypal Jewish mother. So that is exactly the secret of this figure, Mehitavel, whose name equals Zman, time. She is the intermediate between Chava, Eve, and Rachel. How much do those three equal together? Chava is 19, Zman is 97, and Rachel is 238. Together is 354. 354 is the number of days, the average number of days in a Hebrew year. What's even more amazing is if we take those three basic women and construct a series, because it's also ascending numbers from 19 to 97 to 238. What will be the base of that series? So again, it's by taking finite differences from 19 to, how much is it from 19 to 97? 78. How much is it from 97 to 238? 141. How much is it from 78 to 141? What's the difference between the first difference is 78, the second is 141. The base is the difference of the differences. 63. But 63 is another very important woman in Torah, Chana. On the first day, we said that the three women are the number of days in an average year, 354 days, average lunar year. On the first day of the year, of Rosh Hashanah, we read the Haftarah about the birth of Shmuel from Chana. Chana gave birth to Shmuel. Why? Because Shmuel, one of the allusions is that the word Shmuel equals Shana Tova, a good year. And the mother of a good year, which is the mother of a good time, is Chana. She had Mesirut Nefesh, dedication, self-sacrifice, to give birth to her son Shmuel, who was considered to be equal to Moses and Aaron together. So that's also something beautiful. But we were still in between taking the full spelling of the three letters of Zman and also making a series out of those three. 67 and 80 and 106. Between 67 and 80 is 13. Between 80 and 106 is 26. But 26 is 2 times 13. So what is the base between 13 and 26? What's more 13? This is a very, very rare, mathematically it's a very rare phenomenon, which means that this series will be symmetric, which is very, very unusual. Meaning that the number before 67 in this series will once more be 67. And the number after that, before the 67 will once more be 80. And the number before that will once more be 106, meaning that the word time will be written forwards and backwards. And so the series will progress in both directions as a mirror image. And whoever likes this, likes numbers, you have to write it out and try to see it yourself. That if we write time, each letter in full, and make a series out of it, the base of the series will be 13, a very important number. The two differences are 13 and 26, which are Shem Echad. And then the whole series will be a mirror image. It's called a symmetric series. What does that mean? It means that there's something about time which is a mirror, which is looking into a mirror, seeing yourself reflected back. K'mayim apanim apanim, like looking into the water and seeing your face reflected. Looking at another soul, another heart. Ken leva adam la adam. It says just like looking into the water and seeing your face reflected. So is heart of man to man, relating to another soul and seeing yourself reflected in that relationship. What does this suggest? It suggests the difference between the prophecy of all of the other prophets and the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu. It says that all the prophets prophesied b'mar'ah. They saw the light as a mirror image, a mirror reflection. Even the very fact that we're created, that man is created in the image of God, the very word image implies a mirror image. That's the level of prophecy of all of the prophets. But Moses had a unique level of prophecy. No other prophet merited to. It's called Aspaklaria Meira. He saw directly the Word of God through a transparent pane. All of the others saw God through a translucent pane. The translucent pane actually means a mirror image. Meaning, we'll say this once more in short, that all prophecy has to do with the secret of time. But there are some that see the secrets are also the messages of reality, of what's there and what's going to happen. They see it as a mirror image. They see it through the mirror of time itself. Where their prophecy comes by looking at the secret, these secrets of time, and receiving the prophecy as reflected light from the contemplation, the meditation of time. Whereas Moses is greater than all of the prophets, and he's the only one that has, it's called Zeh, has direct revelation. And what that means is that he sees through time. It doesn't say that he sees directly without a pane at all, without a window or a glass. But his glass that he sees through is transparent. All of the others also have this glass that they see the Word of God, but it's translucent. Since it's translucent, so it is as a mirror. It performs as a mirror. There's something about time. Time has stopped, right? Temporarily. For the time being, now time is returned. So it's about they're seeing prophecy, they're seeing depth and secrets of reality through the contemplation of time, through the pain of time is a pain. That all prophecy is through this pain. It's just a question whether it's a translucent pain that acts as a mirror, or is it a transparent pain that you see through? But it's there. Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, and the Kol Torah, the whole Torah, is seeing the Word of God through a transparent pain, means seeing through time. And all other prophecy is seeing the reflection of reality on the pain of time. It also reveals godliness, but as reflected light. And so now I'm being told the time is up. But we're still in the middle. We still have time to go. We're in the middle of the time, and I thought maybe we would end time today, but we have not yet ended time. The time is still going on. L'chaim, l'chaim. We should have a good time and a good month, and it's much more should be a month of refuah shlema, of healing. The time should heal. And what we said, just maybe one more point. What we said before, that two are four, because each one includes in the other. So even these two levels of prophecy, we have to try to understand that the two can also inter-include and become